following that story?
At around lunchtime today in the Johannesburg High Court, 5 suspects escaped from the cells. Police were able to apprehend 4 of them before they could even exit the building. And there was a shootout where 1 suspect was fatally shot, 2 seriously wounded, and 1 with light injuries, and that one is in custody with the police. Police are still on the scene, combing the scene, and we are still working with investigating officers to verify and confirm the identities of the suspects. We can confirm that one of the suspects is at large.
Can you please explain to us what are these suspects here for? What appearance were they making today?
Like I indicated, we are still verifying their identities, and only then will we be able to confirm. But just checking on the list of the suspects that were appearing today in court, we can safely say that some of them were appearing for murder and rape as well as robbery. But that, like I said, will only be confirmed once we've confirmed their identities.
And what measures had to be taken thereafter, after the incident?
Well, police are still in the court building. Our deployments are still there. We believe that it is because of our high visibility and deployments that we were able to apprehend these 4. However, we will not relax because we've realized that there was a gap possibly, but we are just happy at this stage that we were able to apprehend 4 of them. We are on the lookout for the 5th one. We will be circulating his details as soon as we've verified the identity.
Are you able to tell us where exactly the breach lies in, the suspects being able to get out and try and escape?
At this stage, we are still investigating the circumstances. We are not sure yet how and why it happened. So I cannot comment on that for now. We will only be able to give a final confirmation once the scene has been cleared and a full report given by the police on the scene.
And then going forward, will matters still be placed on roll tomorrow, and will there still be court matters brought here to the court, and what will you be doing tomorrow and going forward?
Unfortunately, we will take our guidance from the court. We cannot pronounce on whether they will be running normally tomorrow. However, we remain here. It is our responsibility to make sure that we provide safety and security in and around the court.
ANC Veteran Ben Turok has died at the age of 92. The former anti-apartheid activist, economics professor and member of parliament passed on this morning. ANC National Spokesperson Pule Mabe joins us now to talk about the passing of the ANC and SACP stalwart as well as other issues. A very good evening to you, Mr. Mabe, and thank you so much for joining us.
Well, evening and evening to your viewers.
Let's first start with the news that has just come in. Eskom now moving to stage 6. Is government concerned?
Well, we are quite concerned, and we are hoping that the power utility will do everything else in their power to restore and normalize their own operations, so that one of the pictures that we saw were people protesting, especially in Soweto, blockading roads and all of that. So this means that there is a great effect that people feel when there is no power in that way. But also, we have become so reliant as a nation on power, especially on Eskom, which is the only power generator in the country. So we hope and wish that Eskom will do everything else in their power as the power utility to try and restore their own operations, make sure that they deal with the challenges that are there, give the people of South Africa the confidence that they need.
Let's talk about emergency action here. The president has certainly said that he feels that SOEs are salvageable. Correct. And I'm wondering, as an SOE, is it not time to put into gear some more urgent measures, interventions, even if it means re-looking at Eskom's business model?
Well, of course. That work has already happened. You'd know that we are now parceling Eskom into 3 units, one that deals with generation, the other that deals with transmission, and the other that deals with distribution. And one of the other things that have happened was that a CEO has been appointed at Eskom, expected to take the reins early next year. We're expecting that that would bring stability, and with that it will allow Eskom to be able to drive the kind of imagined turnaround that is required to be able to boost public confidence, because Eskom is the anchor of our own economy. We need it to be stable so that we could be able to drive the kind of investment we need so that jobs could be generated.
And speaking of Anchorage, that would mean strong leadership.
Correct.
We've just heard the news of the passing of Professor Ben Turok. What is your message to the nation about the kind of legacy that he leaves behind, but also reflecting on the kind of leadership that he represented that should be brought into the ANC?
Well, Ben was quite a fearless cadre of the organization. Passed on today at the age of 92. Was a great volunteer of what came to be known as the Real Congress of the People in 1955. Played a significant role in the drafting of the Freedom Charter, which effectively spelled out our own maximum program as the African National Congress. But also went on to be arrested, first in 1956 and again in 1962 under the Explosives Act. Chose not to enjoy the other benefits and privileges that came with being white, but rather elected to be on the side of the marginalized black people. Went out to exile, spent over 20 years, came back only in 1990 to come and help us constitute the Parliament of the People in 1994, when he was deployed here in the PWV region as a member of the executive responsible for the program on reconstruction and development. Went on to Parliament in 1995 up until he retired in the early 2000s. So he's one person who was fearless, spoke his views without fear or favor. He's an accomplished author. Had written and edited Sechaba in the African National Congress, and had done quite a lot of journals under his own name, and was quite a very ethical leader. Always spoke about the need to have moral leadership that resonates with the interest of society out there. So it's going to be dearly missed.
You mentioned all of those terms, because I'm wondering, as a party, can you really look at yourself and say you're living up to all of those standards that you've mentioned, well, perhaps even reflecting at some of the conversations you had over the weekend during the NEC? Well,
our own ability as a party to self-reflect, self-introspect, and show a need to self-correct whenever there are challenges means that these great towers, men and women who would have made a great contribution towards the attainment of national liberation, their own footsteps continue to bear certain lessons and counsel to all of us, appeal to our own conscience, so that when we do things, we always remember that putting up an organization like the ANC to be where it is today as a leader of society took men and women of courage, some of those who were able to be out there and play a role when the ANC was not even in government. If you look at it, I mean, in 1955, the ANC was not even a ruling party, but yet you had Ben Turok, who was of a white color, who decided that he's going to be on the side of the majority. Even at that time.
I need to ask you two questions very quickly, Mr. Mabe. I need to start with reports suggesting that there is some sort of a putsch or an effort to do that with regards to the leadership of President Cyril Ramaphosa, accusing him of even trying to sell out not only SOEs but to bring down the empowerment of black businesses. How do you respond to that?
Well, that's hogwash. President Ramaphosa serves within the collective leadership of the African National Congress that was elected in Nazareth. President Ramaphosa has served the ANC for years and years. I mean, when the ANC was unbanned, he was elected as its Secretary General, serving with President Mandela. So President Ramaphosa, again in 1996, he himself participated in the process of drafting the constitution of the country as we know it today. He has always been committed to the ideals and values that have made up the African National Congress. Of course, so there are people out there who are seeking to peddle lies, because a united ANC doesn't always work to serve the interest of those dark forces out there who want to collapse the National Democratic Revolution. I can tell you now that we were in the National Executive Committee, and it will come out in the statement that the Secretary General will be presenting out to the public on Wednesday on the key decisions that we've taken, including on SOEs, and in terms of what we believe should be happening going forward. What I can tell you is that the leadership of the ANC whether it's the officials, the top 6 officials, and the entirety of the leadership is united behind that which needs to be achieved in the immediate.
Finally, can you comment on reports suggesting that former President Jacob Zuma is unwell and that he's traveled overseas for medical attention?
Well, this question came to us this morning again. We were here at SABC.
Yes.
We were here at Morning Live this morning. They did raise this question with us, and we did indicate to them that as soon as we have gathered all the facts, we will be able to communicate. As you know, President Zuma is a former president of the Republic of South Africa, is also the former president of the African National Congress. So matters like those...
So you've been unable to establish whether or not the reports are true?
As soon as we have got all the facts, on his conditions and all of that, we'll be able to communicate.
But as you speak now, are you aware of whether or not he's in good health?
Well, what I can tell you now is that he has not been able to attend the National Executive Committee. He always comes to the NEC. He did not attend this previous NEC. And of course, the leadership has been working around the clock to try and ascertain all of the facts. Okay. And once we are aware of the facts, we'll be able to communicate to the public. President Jacob Zuma is very much a part of the ANC. And the ANC will be part of those that would wish him well.
All right. Thank you very much for speaking to us, ANC National Spokesperson, Mr. Pule Mabe. A recap of your headlines this hour.